Hello, West Ham Network. It's Holly, and I'm here with your Hammers headlines for today, Wednesday, the 25th of September, run in association with KUMB.com. Now, today we are going to be talking about some joint protests. We're going to be talking about Guilherme'S first goal for the club and some conflicting reports about our summer signings. So, without further ado, let's get going. For your first story, Liverpool supporters are going to be joining West Ham protests before the Carabao Cup clash, showing solidarity against rising ticket prices. So fans of both clubs are going to be meeting outside the Kop before the game, and fan protests from groups including Hammers United, Old School Hammers and Spirit of Shankly are planning to stand together with a shared banner. So as we know, the price of our concessions, the tickets have gone through the roof, and the price of season tickets has gone up between 6 and 11%, while Liverpool has seen all ticket prices increased by 2%. So Paul Khan, the chair of the Spirit of Shankly fan group, spoke about it, and he said there is a troubling trend in Premier League clubs, an apparent dismantling of concessions and rising ticket prices, disregarding the loyalty of fans, particularly senior, youth and disabled supporters. It's vital that fans from all clubs come together to resist this direction and ensure loyalty is not further exploited. And this is what we're starting to now see the beginning of, because different clubs are grouping together to send the message that football has to be kept affordable for fans. And like Paul had said there, it's across the board, but also hitting the people that have concession tickets seems like an even worse blow on top of everything. And yeah, it's good to see that it's not just West Ham fans that have an issue with this. And I think if a message can be spread across the board where it's multiple clubs all kicking off and explaining why this is so important to fans, that football is still made accessible for the fans, hopefully this is something that the Premier League as a whole can also take on board and make sure that we protect the future of football. For your second story, West Ham's under-21 started their Premier League International Cup campaign at the Chigwell Construction Stadium last night against Benfica B, and it ended in a 2-2 draw. But I've hidden in behind the logo there. We actually went 2-0 down. We conceded in the 35th and 37th minute in very quick succession, which was obviously slightly concerning at the time. However, we did pull it back. In the 56th minute, Luis Guilherme scored his first goal for the club, perfectly timing a run to get on the end of a little chip to finish very nicely. And in the 80th minute, Donegan got his first goal as well for West Ham, slotting the ball in to end the game 2-2. A lot of people have been asking why we brought Guilherme in if he doesn't fit our plans currently. And it's definitely a different approach to what we're used to. We're used to having a bare starting 11 and not having any squad depth, and anyone that we bring in, we're like, we need to bring them in, they need to be perfect right now and they need to make a difference, and if they don't, bad recruitment. But I think so far it looks like Guilherme is progressing nicely, and it is just a very different approach. We don't spend money on players that are not ready historically to play for us. We expect them to come in and be ready right now, and this is more of a gamble. We've spoken about it before. We spoke to Tim Vicker about it, where Guilherme is like, he's a player for the future. He's one that needs development. He's one that isn't ready for the Premier League by all the experts that we've spoken with and their opinions. But he is one that has all the attributes. And if we can bring him into the club, if we can train him up in the ways that we need to be the kind of player that we need, and if we can really work on all the great attributes that he has, it sounds like he could be a really, really talented player. So it's a different way of doing things, and it's a way that if it works out, and if our strategy of how we're going to bring him up to be ready to play in the Premier League, if that plays off, then it's incredible. And we could do the same thing again and again by spotting players that have potential and then bringing them up to the level that we need. So yeah, it's definitely a different approach, but the pressure is kind of off, in my opinion, at the moment, in terms of him being able to play in the games where he can get experience, he can impress, and then hopefully we'll bring him in at the right time. But the question I've got for you, are you excited to see what Guilherme can do this season, or are you more confused as to why we've taken this risk, spending so much on somebody that we don't have a need for immediately? Let us know down below in that comment section. And then for your final story, it's being reported that Tim Stuyton did in fact pick all of the players that we brought in this summer. So this update followed on from reports that suggested that he chose all of the players apart from Somerville. So Somerville being the one standing out. But it now appears that it is everybody that he did get the pick on. So one of the things that really stood out to me was actually the reporting on all of this stuff, with a lot of the reports focusing on the stats that Somerville is underperforming. Now, we know that media outlets love a bit of sensationalism. They love a shock. They love a bit of drama. But I'm actually really happy with Somerville so far. So they highlighted that Somerville had attempted just one shot and created just 2 chances, which they said was less than Wan-Bissaka, Kilman and Emerson, calling it disappointing. Now, I was looking at Somerville and I was gutted that we brought him off last game because he felt like he was the brightest spark on that pitch. So I think this really does show the two sides of how stats can be very different to what you're watching, and how, I guess, reports can be very different to how you perceive things yourself. And even as fans, we all see things completely differently. The amount of times where someone said that someone's had a great game and I think it's been terrible, I think someone's had a really good game, and someone else will be like, that was the worst performance they've had in seasons. So there's definitely different things that people look for, I suppose, in games and the way that people are performing. But I'm really excited about Somerville. Just on a side note, he's had 120 minutes. He's 22. He's got a lot of time to get better as well. And against Chelsea, he was running at them. He tries to take players on. And this is something that I think that we need to just have that oomph to get up the pitch, where previously we've sat back, we've passed around in defence, and that's no fun for anyone. So I think Somerville could be a very exciting player for us. And I can't say that Tim picking the players and having a say in who we bring in really comes as a surprise for me. It feels like a little bit of a nothing story, because we all knew that this was the way that we were going to approach transfers, with Tim going to find the players, identify the targets, and then get them to sign those contracts of the type of players that the head coach needs. So that's my take on it. Anyway, bit of a nothing story. There you have it. Those have been your Hammers headlines for today. But drop us a comment with your thoughts ahead of the Liverpool game and give this a thumbs up if you haven't already. Till next time, come on you Irons.